Now our sun, our moon goes around us every 28 days. And in doing so, our perspective changes. So when we look up in the sky, as the moon goes around us, we see a different reflection of light. So the moon doesn't shine, it just reflects. That gray rock reflects the sunlight. The moon is always half lit and half dark because you know what? The earth is too. The earth is always half lit and half dark, but we're rotating. And so sometimes we're on the lit side and then sometimes we're on the dark side, right? That's just how it works for us. And the moon is going around us. And as we look up, what do we see is really what happens. And that's what the phases of the moon is all about. So the moon starts out new moon, which is nothing. You see the dark side of the moon. So if we're looking up, we only see the dark half. That's new. And then we're going to see this crescent, and it's waxing, which means that it's getting brighter. And then we go to the first quarter as we look up. Oh, we see half. And then, but remember, it's half of a half. So that's why it's a quarter. And then over here, when it's kind of like this and you have a dark crescent and then the lit part, that's called the gibbous. It's waxing, it's getting bigger. And then we finally go full moon. So now we're looking at it. It's like we see the whole half of the moon. And then we have waning gibbous. So now it's the dark crescent is this side. And then we have third quarter. And then we have the waning crescent. And then we're back to the new moon. So this is every 28 days that we go from new moon to new moon. A solar eclipse happens when the moon and the sun get in the way, right? So the moon comes in between the sun and the earth. And so then it ends up casting a shadow. It blocks out the sun perfectly, just the dynamics of it. But it only does that in a very small little strip across the earth. So the rest of the earth still sees the sun just fine. But if you're in this swath of shadow, you will actually see the sun go dark and the moon looks like it covers it up completely. So obviously this has to happen during the new moon, because that's when it's in between the earth and the sun. And then, of course, it has to actually just cross the perfect plane, like the perfect spot to cause this to happen. So it doesn't always happen because we're tilted. The moon actually goes around us on the tilt. And so it doesn't always go with the same. This is the ecliptic and so the moon has to be crossing right at this ecliptic line and be a new moon at the same time for a solar eclipse to happen. So it doesn't happen as often as you would think. So here, this is 2001 to 2050. So, and these are the bands where you would actually see the eclipse. So these are solar eclipses. So our next solar eclipse is, we saw that one, 2024. I think April 8th, that goes this way. But then it's like, 2033, 2044, 2045. So it doesn't happen that often, at least over North America. A lunar eclipse is the opposite. It's when the moon goes into our shadow. So here's the sun, here's our shadow, and if the moon crosses our shadow, we're going to see a eclipse of the moon, a lunar eclipse. And so, again, same problem. We're tilted, so it doesn't always get into that perfect spot. It has to be a full moon traveling through our shadow, and as it does, our full moon will change and go dark and then go back to being light again. So our next total lunar eclipse that we would see in San Diego, we'd only see partial, is May 26, 2021.